Thank you all for being here today. I am David Robinson, a co-founder of EarthWork Collective. EarthWork Collective is a group of facilitators, communicators, educators, and creatives. Our mission is to co-create a world where people, planet, and organizations thrive. We connect people for change, and we'd be happy to put our skills to work for you and very happy to share knowledge with you as well. On a technical note, as you may have noticed already, our LinkedIn and Zoom combo is a little dodgy, so please bear with us as these things pop up. So what are we going to do today? In going beyond sustainability, there are many factors at play. They're part of many frameworks, including the principles embodied in environmental, social governance, or ESG. And today we put a special emphasis on relationship building with everyone involved in your business, which is customers, employees, community, etc. We'll begin by hearing from Manon why this can be a challenge. Scott will talk to us about the circle of responsibility, which is your bond with each group you connect with. Catherine will share with us the mindset that accompanies a successful engagement with the circle of responsibility. And a lot of this material is coming from our course, Regenerative Business Practice, which we'll share a little bit more about later. And speaking of the course, we're excited to hear from Niels, the co-author of the book, Regenerative Enterprise. The content of the book was informative and very inspirational for us as we developed the course. Etrit will take us through an interactive component where we have a mini workshop around one of the regenerative principles that we talk about. We'll have a few minutes to consider a series of questions. You'll need a pencil and paper to track your thoughts. And then we'll close up with a Q&A as usual, but feel free to put your questions in the chat as they come up. Now let's hear from Manon on the challenge of going beyond sustainability.
Bonjour, thank you for your patience, everyone. And for everyone who's here live, I really want to say I appreciate that. It's special even across continents and time zones to come together in this moment. All right, why do we have to go beyond sustainability? Well, I think we are all aware that the crises that we're facing and the challenges are not only one-sided, it's not only ecological, it's not only social, sort of a poly-crisis, and alone it's really hard to think that we can fix it. But I think that if we all together shift a little bit, we can create a movement that makes a change on a larger scale. So I want first to congratulate you on your efforts on being or becoming sustainable. I think if you're here, it's because it's a subject that interests you. And it's not an easy thing to do. And so glad you're on this journey with us. Part of what I've learned on my path is that we don't know what we don't know. There's always something new, and the regenerative principles and regeneration in general was something that really inspired me. It actually helped me not just wish for a hope, but to feel it like as an active part of what we can do, and also be re-energized and motivated. Sometimes it can be demotivating to be doing this work, and sometimes we feel alone. So David is showing us the continuum between conventional, sustainable, and regenerative practices. And business as usual typically falls in the conventional practice. So we're extracting from nature, which means we're taking resources. And also we can expand that to not just mean nature, but also humans socially. So it can be depleting. Sustainable falls in the middle, and it's about remaining neutral. It takes, but it wants to put back. So there's sort of an equilibrium there. And I want you to challenge, do we really want to sustain the world that we have right now? We know that so many things are in decline. It's kind of hard to think that it could remain this way forever. So when you look at the regenerative practices, they help really add value. They restore, they revitalize, and it's not just about taking, but it's about creating abundance for all, meaning nature, but also for us as human. So in conventional sort of a winner-take-all approach where we exploit nature. And in the middle, we see ourselves as part of nature, like it brings a certain respect towards it. But when you move to the regenerative, you really come to a sense of you are nature. And there's a deep ecology that comes with that. The field of regeneration is emerging. It's new, and there's really inspiring and amazing authors and practitioners. So we decided to highlight in the course theory and practice. So specifically for small businesses. And it's not necessarily about doing more. It's about having an awareness and being able to choose better. And one way that we can guide that in the course, we decided to use the principles of regeneration that were originally created by John Fullerton in Regenerative Capitalism. So there are 8 principles that can help you guide your decisions in everyday business life or even in personal life, but it really applies well to business. And today, at the end of the webinar, we'll focus on one and how it can inform building stronger relationship, because that's the topic that we chose today. A little bit on that, the course is 8 modules. We view one of the principles in each module. We have case studies, so examples of businesses that are doing this really well. And it's not just ecological, it's also social. So we balance examples of both. Today, we decided to focus on the social aspect. So in module 4, we're focusing on the importance of building stronger relationship. We decided that because it's something that you can start doing today. It's easy. Most of that can be done for free, and you can start experiencing the effect of what you can do when you're doing well by doing good. Now I'm going to pass it to Scott, who's going to talk to us about the CoRe and why that's important for business relationship.
Thanks. We're really excited to be here today, as Manon mentioned. And just to carry on what she talked about, the concept of the CoRe is not completely new, but the name and the abbreviation that EarthWork Collective created for it are. It's especially important and increasingly relevant to all businesses, regardless of their size, because of our present and future climate change and social awareness challenges that we face in this world. We've all got a CoRe. And CoRe stands for the circle of responsibility, defined as how the members of a company's healthy ecosystem, or the members of its CoRe, interact regularly in a close, supporting, cooperatively nurturing manner. Business enterprises can do this really well. They unite people with a strong ongoing interest in what their business and their partners do. So think about how they do it, not just how they do it, but how they do it all together and how they together create a better world. So they aim to do financially well while doing it, because it is a business. Last year, our colleague Catherine Palmer made us aware through some research she had done into the not so friendly history of the word stakeholder. So we thinking of its ties to slavery, bondage, and other negative connotations, we said we really should come up with a better way of describing this. So we agreed with her suggestion for a more enlightened, if you will, version of that word. And it's actually more accurate because it talks about the intertwined, mutually beneficial, ideal model, really, of a connected business and its partners. It's one that's truly engaged, aware, seeking circular, collaborative product and service relationships with its employees, its customers, its suppliers, its partners, its community, however large or small that community is, and then investors and regulators too, as those apply to particular businesses. It just makes sense, and thus the term CoRe was born. So a special correlation came into play as well, and that's that post-pandemic, as we were researching and writing, you probably know about how the ESG explainer that we published, if you've seen anything about EarthWork, we published a book about the ESG explainer. It's called the ESG explainer. The idea was we want you to be aware as a small business, what many of the large businesses already know, that there's all sorts of things going on in terms of value chains and reporting and so forth. And a lot of the value chains got either extended or overextended over a period of time, especially during the pandemic. It created a whole bunch of new digital transformation. And there was also new scrutiny that came from the growing awareness of global greenhouse gas emissions and the reporting standards that accompanied this. They've actually been evolving since about 2001. And many of you have heard of the different scopes, and you may know a lot about them. The first two, of course, are all about what direct companies do directly and indirectly in terms of emissions. But scope 3 is really the toughest category to nail down. It includes the emissions of a company's entire value chain, from suppliers upstream to customers and others who are downstream. It's usually at least 50% or more of a company's emissions in total. So really, when you think about it, it's where all the work is going to need to be done. So that's where CoRe comes in, because not only does a company committed to doing well for the environment and humanity have to find similarly focused and caring employees, they've got to find suppliers and partners who are willing to come on board. It's really, they have to have also appreciative customers who are willing to support them. So it must clearly understand how its own emissions and those of its core members up and downstream influence each other's total footprint, and in concert, their impacts on the world beyond. So these requirements are now moving from voluntary to mandated. A lot of people don't realize that. They're all over the world. There are various frameworks going into play. And the good news is the frameworks are becoming simpler. But starting with public companies across the globe, this is going more towards all businesses being affected, because especially those aiming for more in a business, to be more regenerative in their operations and practices, they want to continue to embrace the high moral and ethical standards that they were created for and that they're focusing on. And they'll soon have more legal or procedural reasons to do so, along with members of their core, essentially together to do well by doing good. And that's what EarthWork Collective is here for. We're trying to make those journeys by our clients and their circular business partners, frankly, easier, more understandable, navigable, and relatable. So with success and future proofing achievable, they're going to find that going right to the core is really the best way for them to build positive relationships that they've wanted to do. So as we talk more about this concept, I'm going to pass it on to Catherine, my colleague, and she's going to talk about an additional part of this that we're going to introduce in our upcoming course. Catherine, off to you.
Thank you, Scott. As Scott mentioned, building strong relationships with your core can be absolutely game-changing. And collaboration, we know, is essential to building a regenerative workplace. So we've borrowed the CARE acronym from sales and repurposed it as a mnemonic for building relationships in regenerative business. All of the suggestions that we have following are well-researched ways to move beyond transactional relationships towards regenerative ones. So the acronym that we have here is CARE. The C in this case for regenerative business is connection, finding common ground, building a bridge between you and the other person. It's as simple as knowing and using their name. You could also find out something interesting about them, something that they really love, and mention it in conversation. For example, for me, the surefire way to connect with me is to remember my dog's name. If you start a conversation with, "Hey, Catherine, how's Star doing?" That's the fastest way to my heart. The A in CARE is for appreciation, showing gratitude for the people in your core and recognizing the contribution of others towards your business's success. Appreciation can be as simple as saying thank you. It can be giving a shout out on social media or publicly recognizing an employee's hard work. It could also be something more extravagant, like a gift basket or a customer appreciation day. The R in CARE is for reciprocity. Reciprocity is creating mutually beneficial relationships. It's doing things for others and in return asking for what you need. Some really interesting research came out recently about how when we ask for what we need from someone, it actually makes us seem more trustworthy and likable in their eyes. So reciprocal relationships are essential for building effective collaboration. The E in CARE, last but not least, is for empathy. Empathy is seeing the humanity in everyone, entering every interaction without judgment, and remembering that everyone is doing the best that they can. Empathy can show up as deep listening to another's problems or showing understanding when a person doesn't show up in the way that we expect them to. So CARE may sound like common sense, but often common sense doesn't lead to common action. Many of our interactions in life are transactional, especially in related to business. But we believe that moving from transactional to meaningful relationships is a key feature of becoming regenerative. So how do we do this? As with incorporating anything new, we suggest going step by step, each day making an effort to show care to one person, identifying one group of people that you can build a better relationship with, and then working every day towards making that a habit. So I'm going to pass it over to David for a little bit of an interactive piece.
Well, thank you, Catherine. And in talking about relationships, they obviously, sustainable relationships turn into sustainable partners, sustainable business, sustainable communities, and the communication that comes from those are of critical importance. We have a little poll that we'd like to set you up with, and if you have that link, you can put it up in the chat, up in the feed, which we can talk about and focus on specific groups that we will be addressing. So in the poll, we have those groups to help you choose one to focus on.
Everyone here, if you would like to vote, after you vote, you get to see how other people are voting. So right now we have community leading, but customers are a second.
And since we're running a little behind, could I pass it over to Catherine to kind of cover what CARE looks like in context?
Thank you, David. So looking at our poll, a lot of people are interested in what does CARE look like for our community. So building a strong relationship with our community is very important in regenerative business. We talk a lot about connecting with place and having a relationship with the community and the place that we're in. And so connection for your community would look like showing up. It would be participating in community events, being a part of community forums online and in person, making your community at the forefront of your business communications. Appreciation, showcasing your community on your social media, saying how proud you are to be where you live, and shout outs to people that make your community the wonderful place that it is. Reciprocity, you can give back to your community, working through your business to support community causes and projects, asking for help from your community when you need it. So maybe asking for help with a cause that's close to your heart, help getting your community to help have a part of your business. And empathy, helping the most vulnerable in your community, noticing where things could be better and helping to make them so. For example, participating in beach cleanups or tree planting, maybe food drives. Another category that was quite a few votes was customers or clients. So how can we connect with them? Greeting them with a hello and a smile. It's shocking how infrequently when I go into stores, this is actually what happens. So making the customer feel welcome, whether it's online, in your online store or in your brick and mortar store. Appreciate. Handwritten thank you notes in online shipments. It could be a thank you, a personalized thank you email, a little gift at checkout, customer appreciation days. Even just saying thank you when a customer gives feedback instead of becoming defensive. Reciprocity to customers, asking for their feedback, and then using that feedback to make an improvement in the store and being public about the whole process. So explaining that customers helped to shape this product. And empathy, when a difficult situation arises with a customer, remembering that everyone is doing their best, we're all showing up the best way we can, and that deep down, we're all coming from the same place. It's understanding how the customer is feeling so we can respond appropriately for each situation. So those are just a few examples of how CARE looks in context. And I'm going to pass it back over to Scott, because we understand that all that we're talking about right now may seem simple, but it's certainly not easy. And where do we start? How do we navigate the risks? What do we do when we need help? Regenerative is so new. Even this whole thing of doing well by doing good is so new in the business world. It's a departure from business as usual. And we believe that every business owner can do well by doing good. So to help you or any small business owners you may know, we've developed our regenerative business course, a practical and profitable regeneration for small business. So I'm going to pass it over to Scott. We've explained a little bit about already, but Scott's going to go through the details with you.
Yeah, and I'll keep it brief. Thanks a lot, Catherine. It's really simple. A part of the course will dive deep into building relationships with your core, and there's a whole lot more beyond it, as you can see on screen here. The 8 different modules. We'll be there to guide you and your fellow participants all along the way. It's not like you're just going to be cut loose. You will have the chance to work together and in cohort. And some other topics that we're going to be exploring you see on your screen, but building a regenerative plan, how to do this, sustainable procurement, developing a circular culture, making your business resilient in the face of all these mounting challenges we've been talking about. And we're determined that not only will you leave the course with the knowledge, the tools, and the skills you need to transform your business into an enduring force for good, as Catherine mentioned, you'll also be joining a community of practice. Again, people who are going to be there to help support you in facing some of those challenges, celebrating your wins, a brave space to explore some new ideas and assumptions, and making connections with other business owners on a similar journey. So again, this course will not tell you how to run a regenerative or even a sustainable business, but it will, because the whys, the whats, and the hows are going to be up to you, but it will offer you the really precious chance to step away from work, to step away from the day-to-day, all those fires you have to put out, which every business has to put out sometime. The difference is your business is different. It's not just any business. You are one that wants to focus on really what's really valuable, that your business runs the right way and that it thrives beyond the day-to-day. So if you're convinced that that's something that makes sense to you, that you really want to transform your business for a better future, or even if you're just wondering what's really involved in the course beyond what we've shown you today, ask us. We're happy to answer any questions, address any concerns. And we want you to be successful. We want you to succeed as much as you do. So please let us know. Speaking of that transformation and success, we have a guest here, and I'm very pleased to introduce Neil Defregier. Neil is the author of the highly praised new book, The Regenerative Enterprise, which, interestingly enough, is one of the foundational works for our EarthWork course. Neil is an ecopreneur and an ideator in the systems change and regenerative space. He's also inventor of the board game Futures. It's a modular card game connecting the subjects of climate, biodiversity, social justice, and well-being. In addition to all of this, he's co-founder with Stephen of Positive, which is an interesting organization. It empowers businesses on their journey towards sustainability and regeneration and uses a unique tool, the compass, for the regenerative business to guide them. Today, Neil's going to be taking an important topic from his book, How Regenerative Principles Can Guide Your Small Business Toward Lasting Success, Resilience, and Adaptability. Neil joins us today from Southern France. Welcome, Neil.
Thank you so much for this intro, Scott, and hello, everyone. So first of all, thank you so much for presenting the course and kind of touching upon the different topics about, why do we need to move from sustainability to regeneration, and what does that mean? First and foremost, in relation to your question, I think we should actually pause here and think about the meaning of success. So the definition of success, like the first question I would ask all of you to reflect on, and it's going to take quite a while to actually respond to that, is what is the meaning of success? What is the meaning of success on an economic level? What is the meaning of success on your personal journey? What is the meaning of success on a team level? We spoke about well-being and all the rest of it. So yeah, the first question is, what is success? And to me, success, and it's just part of the answer, or my answer at least, is actually what is the long-lasting impact that you can have for future generations. So what are you bringing to the world today that would actually last positively for many generations to come? And when I say you as a person, but you as an entity, you as an organization, I'm thinking about the fact that a company or an organization, whatever it is, it's just a registered name, nothing else. And in that sense, it's a living system of human beings. So we are human beings. We need to bring consciousness to our work, asking ourselves the question personally and also on an organizational level of, why do you do what you do? So what's the meaning? What's the purpose behind the organization and your personal journey? These are huge questions, but I think it's really important to set the scenes and really understand that, without consciousness, without being conscious ourselves, we're not going to be able to be in right relationship with ourselves and who we are and what is this internal fire that actually moves us towards action and making a long-lasting positive impact. What is our relationship with, the world in general, so nature and all the rest of it? And what is our relationship with people? Because, so many of the EarthWork collective team, as I've actually mentioned that, we need to collaborate, we need to be more kind to each other, we need to be more loving as well. And in that sense, that's key. So to me, to have success, and, you mentioned success, resilience, and adaptability. The first thing is actually, what is your purpose? Why are you existing? And in that sense, and that's something we reflect on the book, is actually that, any organization today, to make a long-lasting impact and really being on a regenerative journey, needs to have a core purpose, and this purpose needs to be transformational and evolutionary. What does that mean? It means that, if today you are actually serving the greater goods, whether it's on the social, environmental, or both levels, it means that you have a reason to exist. It means that there will be demand for what you're doing. Let's say you want to solve poverty. Until poverty is actually solved and there is no poverty anymore in this world, your work is going to be useful. So the key question is, how do you make sure that you serve this purpose? And when you serve this purpose, you aim to answer it. What we see today in today's economy is that big corporations, some of them, for instance, are sustaining problems to actually sustain income and therefore to sustain their existence. What a regenerative business would do actually is being grounded into the reality and answering it. Another important point, some of you have spoken about, place and locality. That's something we touch upon also on the book, is there is no sustainability and even less regeneration without place. And in that sense, if you want to have a success, if you want to be resilient, you need to understand actually what your community wants, what your community needs, and beyond just asking them what they need and what they want is, making them part of the process. How do you foster what's called cognitive diversity? How do you make sure that in your room, you actually have a wide representation of what your community is looking like, not seeing them necessarily as customers, but, as citizens, as agents of change that could actually push your brand further, push your impact further, push, your team spirit further? How do you make sure that there is really a big participation of all stakeholders? And, we mentioned the word stakeholders. So how do you move beyond this idea as well? So that's really the idea. And then when it comes to resilience, we've seen it with COVID, we see it every single day. My belief, personal belief, is that if companies are not actually fit for purpose and future fit, they will in some ways disappear, because the system is changing faster than what we can plan, what we can predict. And in that sense, more grounded you are into the reality of the place you work with, more grounded you are into the people you're working with, whether they are employees, they are partners, they are investors, they're customers or citizens, whatever. All of them are actually part of your story, and your interdependence based on what happens to them, and what happens to them will actually have an influence on your business. So in short, that's what I would like to share. And three main focuses is really, this purpose and these values that are really kind of the North Star of your organization. The well-being, if we don't thrive ourselves, we're not going to have a thriving organization, and we're not going to have a long-lasting impact. And the third one is really participation, empowered participation, making sure that anyone that wants to join you and support you in the journey can be part of it, that it's wide open, and that you're actually onboarding these people to be part of the change and not only to be consulted.
Thank you so much, Neil. This book is really amazing. Every person that registers for the course will get an e-copy of the book, as it's really foundational in the path that the learners will take in the course. So the questions that were raised today are really at the center of what people will learn and experience in the course. And there is time to think through. It's not just theory is being given to you and then there's nothing to do. There's actually guided exercises that you do to think through those big questions in the context of your specific business. So the regenerative principles is sort of a guide, but there's also all kinds of exercises that go deep into each one and also every aspect of your business. EarthWork will showcase an exercise that uses empowered participation. So it's just giving you like a taster. We have to do it quick because we don't have a lot of time left today, but you'll be able to try it at home in a longer version if you want. So EarthWork.
Okay, so we also heard from Neil the empowered participation, the meaning of empowered participation, and it means moving away from control in order to make room for things like radical collaboration and distributed decision making, and putting purpose and meaning and belonging at the heart of the engagement with your employees. And it also means creating braver spaces for innovation and experimentation. And And this is something that we're going to do today, because think of it this way. Your business is actually a complex adaptive system. And what that means is that everything that is happening at your local level, may your business be small or medium or even bigger, everything that is happening there is like a fractal, and it repeats in the other levels. It repeats within your organization, it repeats beyond the organization. So basically, when you start doing things differently, you have the power to impact the whole system. And that's why the exercise that we are about to do starts with you. Please have that pen and paper ready, that David reminded you in the very beginning. If you are the person who don't like pen and paper, it's perfectly okay to use the Google Doc, make a copy of it. Richie has shared it in the chat. And I'm going to guide you through these 4 questions. They're a little bit counterintuitive, because basically what you're trying to do in this exercise is to approach your common or your usual tense relationship with curiosity. So you're looking at how you do things usually and be curious about it. So first, for each quadrant, you'll have 1 minute. So I'll give you 1 minute to write. And the first thing that you're going to write about in this guided reflection is describe your relationship tension. What is it like? When does it happen? Where? How? Why? I'll pause to give you a minute. The second step is what makes the relationship tension challenging for you? And finally, the last prompt is, what is your usual approach to dealing with tense relationships? What do you do? When do you do it? How? Perhaps why do you deal that way with a tense relationship? So we did this exercise very quickly. Please do try it again at a slower pace for yourself. And yeah, the purpose of the exercise is simply to bring the awareness that Neil was also talking about. Because there's this phrase from Adrienne Marie Brown that I really like, and that goes, how we are at small scale is how we are at large scale. So we're looking at the self, we're turning to the self, not to be self-centered, but because, you know, when we talked about resilience and when we said about empowered participation needing that space to experiment, what better place to start experimenting than in the safety of your own thinking? So this is what this exercise is meant to accomplish. Hope you enjoyed it.
Just want to add a quick note for anyone who found that their usual way might not be the best way. That's okay. Like no one is perfect, and there's always room for improvement. So I think in the awareness is the first step towards making a change. All right, we're at the end of the presentation. Earlier, I forgot to mention that there's a link to get more information about the course in the chat. And also, until the end of the year, we're offering a Pathfinder price. And what that means for us is that we are doing this course for the first time, and you're a partner in making it happen. So we really reduced the price to make it accessible, and also to value the time that you will be putting into it and helping us improve for future versions. Hey, David, off to you.
So in closing, on behalf of the colleagues of the EarthWork Collective team, thank you for joining us on the webinar Beyond Sustainability. We really hope you enjoyed today's conversations and ideas and concepts. And just a reminder that if you'd like to rewatch today's event, the recording will be available shortly to review and share with others. If you'd like to learn more about EarthWork Collective, course or service offerings, coffee, that's also great. Anytime to any of us, just say hello. And thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day.